Yeah, but really quick. In 20 minutes, an alarm's going to go off because some potatoes will be ready. In my defence, they were meant to be ready like an hour ago.
Okay.
But because we're having pork, that takes 2 hours to make.
Yeah.
And 2 hours ago, I accidentally turned the oven off, so it didn't cook. So now
Wait, did you
everything's...
open the oven? Put the pork
Yeah, so
in
right, the thing of it
while
is...
the whole thing was off?
No, so it was on. Beth put it on, she put it in, but it was like sizzling, and I was afraid it was gonna like catch fire or something, because that's happened in the past. And so I've took it out, but because the top of it was like snagged on the metal bits that heat up, it was snagged on that. So all the top bits like got a bar where the really hot bar's been. It's all burnt and crispy. So, but what I did, I took it out, but I turned the oven off to do that. And I put it back in on a lower thing so it evens out. And then forgot to turn the oven off. And it's not until 2 hours later, when Beth's gone to take it out thinking it was done, that she's found it's been off for 2 hours and that it was cold and uncooked. So.
Nice. Good job.
But yeah, so the potatoes are in, and I'm going to have to eat those.
Welcome, everyone, to the Outtakes Movie Podcast. I'm Sam, and I'm still going on my quest to go through every single movie ever made and objectively rank them best to worst. And I'm joined, as always, by my amazing team. Amelia, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Joe, how's things going, man?
Sick, my potatoes will be done soon, so I'm happy.
Nice, good to hear. And Jacob, how's you?
I'm alright, I'm still here.
Fantastic. If you enjoy what we do here at the Outtakes, make sure to give us a like, give us a comment, and give us a subscribe. You can find us all over YouTube by searching the Outtakes Movie Podcast, all over Twitter and Instagram by going to The Real Outtakes, and on podcasting apps like Spotify by searching again, Outtakes Movie Podcast. This week, we are doing Pan's Labyrinth, so make sure that you've seen the movie because we're going to be spoiling it in full. But first, I want to take us back to November 2006 for a little bit of pop culture, and we're going to see where we are. Thing is, this movie actually had like a couple of different release dates. Like it was debuted in Cannes first back in like May. It was ridiculous. I think it got like a 20-minute standing ovation when it debuted.
I don't get that, you know. Like,
Which is mad.
If I was the director of that, I'd be like, just shut the fuck up, sit down, tell me you liked it later on. Have you ever seen the videos of them just stood there going like, the worst one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The camera just gets in the face, and Tarantino's just like, and that's it for 6 minutes. It's painful. Oh,
What
God.
a guy.
It does always feel weird to clap movies, I think. It's unnatural.
I've never clapped a movie in my
22
life.
minutes.
22
If I know like
minutes.
22
people
minutes.
who made it there, yeah, I probably would.
I suppose so, yeah.
They're not.
It's like I think everyone in this call has probably been to a Star Wars midnight showing at some point.
Yes.
Back. Did y'all go to the Force Awakens one?
Yes.
I did
Last
not.
Jedi.
All right,
Last
What a
Amelia.
mistake that was.
No, same.
Amelia, when you went to see the Force Awakens, did people cheer in your cinema when the logo came on?
Yeah.
That didn't matter,
yeah.
even though it was in the middle of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Same
It was
for
good
me.
though because our person was like, because like we in the cinema I go to every now and again if it's something special, they have like someone over like the tannoy at the beginning, and they were like, "Sit down, shut up, and may the force be with you." It was quite funny actually. But yeah, people fully cheered when a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away come up. Everyone was like, "Whoa, yeah!" And like me and my dad were there like, "Excuse me, like, shut up."
But for us, the movie won't come out until 24th of November, so that's when I'm counting it. So, as always, I'm going to start, not with the news, because it's all bollocks. We're going to go straight into pop culture, and we're going to go to the pop charts. Now, this fucking chart was stacked, right? Normally, I just ask y'all, who do you think was number one? I'm actually going to give you a couple first, and I'm going to say, who do you think was topping it? So, at number 38, Every Time We Touch, Cascada.
Oh, what a song.
Banging tune.
Right?
Seen it live. beautiful.
Really? You've seen really?
She was at a nightclub I went to once.
No way.
Nice.
It was amazing.
You've met Cascada at a nightclub, Paul Chuckle at a nightclub. This is amazing, mate.
I've met the Beast off the Chase.
Nice.
Oh man,
Mark Labette himself.
Oh mate, that beats all of mine. To be honest.
I mean, Paul Chuckle.
No one.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Paul
Oh,
Chuckle.
I've seen
He
Base
told-
Hunter
he
twice
told
as
me
well.
he loved me, everyone. I've been told by Paul Chuckle that he loves me. I mean, fair enough, he was probably a little drunk, and I came over at 4 a.m. and was like, "Oh, I love you, man," and he went, "Love you too," but like in his accent that he did. So it was gorgeous. It was amazing, and then I went home and I went to sleep happy. So it's fine.
Nice.
Love that.
Coming in at number 31, Hips Don't Lie by Shakira.
Great song.
Number 23, JT was bringing Sexy back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Number 20, I Don't Feel Like Dancing by the Scissor Sisters.
Oh man.
All right, okay.
Uh-huh. And number 10 was Welcome to the Black Parade by the recently revived My Chemical Romance. So that's incredible. That's like people making music fucking history here. Who was number one?
Don't tell me like Justin Bieber with Baby or something.
It was not.
Okay,
I
good.
think he would have been a baby in 2006. So
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I honestly couldn't. I'm gonna go with the
I
guess that I
can't,
did
yeah.
last week. I'm gonna say JLS again because
Jailers.
this
I mean-
is a callback to last week. And
I am kind of
perp.
I am kind of. You'll be right one week. It has to be right one week.
Yeah.
Let's assume they've got a number one at some point.
Yeah,
I'm-
we'll do like a Psycho or something from 1960, like JLS.
I am pausing to give you to purposely be throwing you a curveball because number one was Westlife in 2006
God.
with a song
interesting.
called Rose, which I literally couldn't even hum because I've never heard of it.
No.
Neither.
Oof.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Wasn't that Emma's favourite
Unbelievable.
band?
Yes.
Oh, shout out to Emma.
Well, it's kind of
Not
appropriate
watching.
that it was called Rose, right? Because isn't Pan's Labyrinth? There's a rose in that, right?
Hey.
It's all connected, man.
It's all connected. The real life cinematic universe.
Just called
Man,
real
the Marvel
life.
one's better, you know. Marvel Cinematic Universe is better than real one.
Over in gaming for us, November 21st saw the release of the expansion to Oblivion, Elder Scrolls 4, called The Knights of Nine, which was amazing. Or which was rubbish. I don't actually know. I'll just splice in the correct audio later.
Fair enough.
On the 22nd, Tony Hawk Project 8 on PSP. It's a pretty dry November, to be honest with you. Tony Hawk games used to be pretty good. And on November 27th, Game of the fucking Year coming up here, ladies and gentlemen, we were all really excited for Totally Spies 2 Undercover on the Nintendo DS.
Totally
Ooh.
Spies.
Wow.
Know what my next game's going to
Wow.
be. 100% Totally Spies.
Totally Spies. So, yeah, that was 2006, while over in cinema, we were experiencing the release of El Laberinto del Fauno, or Pan's Labyrinth.
I've got a question about that later on.
Okay, sure.
But yeah.
Immediately, I would like to just say it's fucking not fair how unsexy our language and voices are. English accents are only good for two things, and that's saying the words bollocks and wanker. No one else can get away with it. We can get away with it. But did you listen to El Laberinto del Fauno? How much fucking cooler is that? Where's our language? Where's our cool language?
It was lost hundreds of years ago, is what it was. It was probably nice when it was like Shakespeare or whatever, but nah. We just got lazy with it.
We go in it
words
now.
like in it and
LOL.
Peng.
lol.
Ooh. Sick.
Oof.
Sick.
That one as well.
So this
man.
movie was directed by Guillermo Del Toro. I think it was his 5th movie released ever. I assume we've all encountered a Del Toro movie at some point before.
I think so.
Do y'all want to run me down some of the things you've seen before that
Crimson
weren't
Peak.
this?
As far as I
Amelia,
know.
actually,
Oh,
I'm gonna,
crap, yeah, that.
tell me a bit about Crimson Peak because I was gonna watch it and then I didn't.
I liked it. but that's because I'm a sucker for like I
Tom
loved
Hiddleston?
you kind of like the reason why I watched it is because I love shitty Regency films like Pride and Prejudice and all this. And there's a great one called Northanger Abbey, which is basically about a girl really fancying this bloke, and it's all like dark and mysterious. Except this has ghosts in it. It's not the best film. The twist is kind of weird, but it's very Del Toro in the sense that of what we see now, where it's kind of creepy and unsettling, but it's sexy at the same time. Like,
Yes.
I really can't explain to you. Critics didn't like it. I liked it.
Is that
That's
the one with
about
like
it.
Tom Hiddleston in it or something?
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston
I've seen that as
and
well.
oh, what's her name? It's gone. She was in Alice in
I
Wonderland.
can't remember the girl was called. Oh wait, no, I thought I knew. I thought that.
Do you know who I'm on
I know
about?
I know who you mean, but that's not who I had in my head.
What's her name?
What else has she been in?
I couldn't
Was she
tell.
Alice from Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, the
not-
live action one with Johnny Depp. Let me Google because otherwise that's going to really
I couldn't tell
annoy
you what it
me.
is.
While you do that, Joe, you were listing off some movies. What were they?
I've seen 4 of them, I think. I mean, I might have seen more because I actually did forget about Crimson Peak. I have seen them all. So that one, I've seen The Shape of Water. I've seen both Hellboys as well. I've
Nice.
seen both of those. I feel like I've seen
Oh.
more, but I can't remember. And now this.
Yes. Del Toro is one of those directors, Jacob, who has done more than like you immediately, because he's a bit like Tim Burton, where he's got like a style, right? But he's done so many movies that do and don't feel like him. If you really know what to look for, it feels like him. But both Hellboy movies are a bit more left field. He's done Blade 2.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his
Watch that one.
discography now and I'm like, oh, yeah, he did
He's-
that.
He's done Pacific Rim.
Oh no,
What?
did he?
Yeah,
Oof.
the first Pacific Rim was Del
Oh,
Toro.
no.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
What?
He-
I've seen that as well.
well.
Unfortunately,
Fuck. Alright.
that's burned
it's
in my
one of-
brain
it's-
somewhere probably.
I think that's the one that's the least him. It comes from, it just came from a desire to sort of adapt big like kaiju anime and things like this, and I'd say he did it pretty perfectly. That's the best, probably the best version of a live action that we're ever gonna get, but it's still not. It's still only fine at best.
I
You
didn't
know?
like it.
Did you know?
The only thing I liked about it was that they got the woman from Portal to do the voice of the robots. That's the only thing I liked.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in it, and that's nice. I was like, oh, it's her. No, it's not bad. And whereas the rest of it, like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I wouldn't watch it again, ever, in my life.
It's got a very like basic plot, hasn't it? Like very basic.
I always thought as well, the big fight scenes as well, was so close. Like, you were right in there, and at some points you could hardly see what was going on. Like, you were just a little too close to the action. It didn't
Yeah, I agree with
come
that.
out and show you enough, you know what I mean? Like, you're just punching like, whoa. I don't know. It was,
Did he do 2 as well?
No.
Who did
No.
2?
Um,
So I think I preferred 2 to the first.
I can't remember who directed it, but I'm pretty sure it was written by David S. Goya.
Is this Pacific
Our,
Rim?
our Batman versus Superman, fucking Rise of Skywalker boy.
all right.
Is it Pacific
Yeah.
Rim Uprising? Is that the name of the second
Yeah.
one?
Yes.
It was directed by Stephen S. DeKnight.
Stephen S.
If that helps.
I don't know.
I'm
Thanks.
pretty sure I've seen his name attached to Daredevil at some point. The Netflix show. But I could be wrong about that.
Alright.
There's just something in my brain connecting names there. But back to Del Toro. He's someone who puts a lot of passion into his movies, a lot of personal stuff into his movies. Say for maybe Pacific Rim, there'd probably still be some stuff there, but it's not quite as intense as in like movies like Pan's Labyrinth. He talked a lot. I've seen this interview with him that he did with the BFI, which is the thing is Del Toro's thing. Unfortunately, is he's had a shit life. He grew up very, very poor in Mexico. I think in like the late 90s, his father was kidnapped.
Oh.
Yes, so his dad was kidnapped and held for ransom. He was held for 72 days. He likely wouldn't have been able to pay the ransom to get his father back if it wasn't for the fact that while making his debut movie, Kronos, he became friends with Steven Spielberg, who gave him $1 million to help free his father. Here's a wacky fact. The people who did kidnap his father are still at large.
Whoa.
They never caught them,
Bloody hell.
which is why.
Wait, so why did they kidnap his dad because of who his son was, or was it?
No, because this was before he became, a famous.
So
I'm not sure why his father was kidnapped. They didn't have a lot of money growing up anyway. It's just one of these weird things. They moved country after, getting his dad back, and he said something pretty heartbreaking in like 2007, which is something along the lines of, every day I see something that is a not so gentle reminder that I am in involuntary exile from my own country.
Yeah,
yeah.
Which is really sad. He creatively as well is the director that seems to be cursed with never quite getting to do what he wants to do.
I knew about this.
Famously, The Hobbit, he worked on it for like 3 years and then got shit canned. They weren't interested in doing his version anymore. He was gonna
quite well.
I think a Del Toro Hobbit would have been amazing. He was going to work with Hideo Kojima on Silent Hills, and then the Kojima Konami fiasco put that whole thing to bed, which is why he's in Death Stranding as well. It's kind of Kojima saying, I'm really sorry we didn't get to do that, but I want to put you in my game.
I love that he was in that. That made me so happy when I saw him. I was like, oh, what a guy.
I was watching an interview with him, and this is in 2007, while he's making Hellboy 2, and he talks about the story they're telling over those movies. He says the first movie, it's a gothic romance and it ends with the big kiss, and Hellboy 2 is the first year of marriage, and it's all leading up to the third movie, which is going to be truly heartbreaking. And it turns out that it would be truly heartbreaking, but that's just because it would never, ever be made.
That's deep.
Yeah, so like the story I know about, this is the thing I forgot to research, is how do you pronounce his name? Because I always say Benicio del Toro, and that's a different person.
Different person. Okay,
that's an actor.
So I say,
Guillermo?
I don't know if this is correct, I say Guillermo.
That's what
Guillermo.
I say.
Right? I have heard in some of the behind the scenes for this movie an ever so slightly different pronunciation, which is like Guillermo, but but I've been saying Guillermo for so long that I don't know. I honestly don't know if it's right or wrong. He probably gets this all the time.
Probably, yeah.
Imagine what he gets in America. Poor guy.
Yeah.
Big G.
Like,
that's what they call him.
Big G.
Gil. Just Gil.
Well, Gil then. Okay. So, I actually heard the thing about Gil. So, a similar kind of thing you're saying about how he can't do projects he wants to do. One that I know about is he really wanted to make a BioShock movie. Right? Yes. He really wanted to make it, and he wanted it to be set in Rapture before it like collapses. And I assume it would have involved the whole New Year's Day 1959 terrorist attack that happens before the game starts.
That
and
sounds
it's set
sexy.
as it's like it would have been amazing. But he wanted it to be like R-rated, so we could have the proper like the faces getting messed up and all the
like in the games
going like exactly. He wanted it to be like the games, but they were like, no, if you want to make it, you got to make it like a PG-13 or something like that. Yeah,
how's that?
That was like
possible?
the only.
You couldn't
that's what I mean. Exactly.
Do that.
Exactly.
You can't
That's
make
what his
BioShock
point
family
was.
friendly. That just won't work.
Exactly. So they were like, if you want to do it, we can't make it R-rated because no one's.
But how many kids are going to want to go and see a fucking critique of Ayn Rand's work? You know what I mean?
Literally, it wouldn't think. That's why he never ended up doing it, because he was like, if I'm going to do it, I have to do it right. So he didn't do it. And the whole thing of it kind of combines the two. There's two stories that have combined to create The Shape of Water. So there was that. Yeah. And if you watch The Shape of Water, you get a lot of BioShock imagery in that.
Yeah, now I think about it.
And there's a bit where it's all water, it's all filled up with water, and it's all kind of like the blue glow that it has in BioShock. It looks amazing. It looks like BioShock. And then the other one is he really wanted to make a modern day adaptation of, is it The Creature of the Black Lagoon or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I think it was that. Sick.
Yeah. So, which is basically what the creature in The Shape of Water is. But again, they wouldn't let him. That's the thing that he's wanted to do since he was a kid. And they wouldn't let him. So he kind of combined the two. I mean, I don't know if this is actually it, but from watching Shape of Water and knowing these stories, I assume he combined the two.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
So there you go. That's mine.
It's one of these. It just keeps happening to the guy. Like, I know he also wanted to make a Mountains of Madness adaptation, which is a Lovecraft story, and that story is what basically directly influenced The Thing. The Thing happened is a movie because of Mountains of Madness. Guillermo
is it based on a book as well? But like the book from the thing as well. Yeah.
So it's a real shame because I think he's one of the most talented guys in cinema today. I honestly,
he knows what he's doing.
The man gets filmmaking. He's one of these where he comes across quite jovial and quite cheery and quite funny, but I know for a fact that on set he's business. You know, it's people who worked on this movie said that like the special effects guys. The practical effects guys they said that we were very used to directors coming to us and saying, oh yeah, that's pretty good. You know, the sort of thing you say when you've had a haircut. You don't criticize the hairdresser. You just say, oh yeah, thanks. And Guillermo would say, no. Or he would say, what's your reference? Where'd you pull that from? And he'd want to know a full list of references. And one of the things he says is that if you as a designer are just referencing another movie in my movie, get out of here. Because that's pointless. Like as you can write references to movies and you can pull inspiration from other movies, but if you're making a monster for me that's based off something and something else, then no, because it's already been made. What's the point?
Fair enough. I can see
that's how he gets his originality, though. That's how his movies look like nothing else.
It makes him stand out, doesn't it? It totally does. And you can definitely see it in this movie. I don't often do the budget things, I think, but I did it for this one because I was particularly the thing that piqued my interest was so what was the budget for I Am Legend again, Joe? Was it like $150 million? It was a lot, wasn't it? It's triple figures.
250, I think.
250.
Oh no, that's how much it made. Oh no, I can't remember. It's 100.
Go to the tape.
It was someone because Amelia got it right. When she guessed. It was 150 million, yeah, because she guessed it exactly, yeah, I remember now. Yeah, and then someone else got 250 million.
And I remember your point about the practical effects looked really bad, so they did the CGI, this, that, and the other. And when the fawn turned up in this movie, I was like, okay, how much was this one made for? Would we like to take any guesses?
I actually had a look, so I'm not going to guess.
Okay.
Because I was also curious.
See, I reckon because you're making a point of it, it's probably a lot less than
Spoilers,
I Am Legend.
Yeah.
95.
60 million, not just $60. That would be impressive.
$19 million.
Jesus.
Yes.
I did read something, you may touch on it later, about how the carbon footprint for this film was really low in the sense that there wasn't a lot of explosions. Like a lot of that CGI. I don't know if you guys have seen that in any research. I think
there was one which was the car.
Yeah.
There wasn't really much else. All the gunshots were kind of like off screen or just like a blood pellet going off.
So mostly with the location, wasn't it, that they were experiencing a high drought? I think the video I watched said.
Really?
They were experiencing like some of like the worst, like I think it was droughts or something. So basically, they couldn't afford to have these explosions going off and risk problems. So they, like I said, they did one explosion, which was the car, which is insane. So that really didn't cost.
I mean, we'll get through it as we go along, but this movie would experience some production issues, and apparently, Del Toro credits this as one of the first movies that like he didn't sacrifice anything for. He had a story. In fact, Sergi Lopez, I may be pronouncing his name wrong, who played Vidal, said that Del Toro approached him and told him the story. And it was, Lopez says it's ridiculously in depth. Del Toro had absolutely every single point, twist, foreshadowing, everything was down, right? And Lopez said, yeah, I'm really interested. If this makes a movie, I'll absolutely be on it. Do you have a script? And Del Toro said, no, nothing's written yet.
Huh.
He really knew it. He really knew it. So that is the preamble for now. I've got other stuff littered in. Let's get to the movie, which starts Memento style with the end. Like I said at the start, total spoilers for this movie. How did we feel about it opening up on Ophelia losing all that blood and, well, it returning to her? It sort of opens in reverse. I think it worked because I was still somehow shocked at the end of the movie.
I honestly forgot that was at
confused.
the beginning when I watched it at the end. It was like it was I was reminded of it, and I was like, oh yeah, that. So I completely forgot. But as an opening, I really liked it. The whole kind of blood. I was curious. It made me.
It's a good word.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. And then we go. We have a little bit of subtitles just before it. We just say it's the Spanish Civil War. It's the end of the Spanish Civil War. It ended in 1939. We're in 1944. Fascist regime's totally taken over, where there's little pockets of rebellion around, and we go into a fairy tale, a very traditional fairy tale as our intro. A princess from the land of magic who dreams of being human ascends through Pan's Labyrinth and forgets who she is, but the king hopes she will return. And I fucking loved this. I don't know, there was something so like whimsy about it and traditional fairy tale about it. It's kind of hard now, I think, for fantasy to, I don't know, you see a lot of like mortal engines and like mortal instruments and mortal fucking everything. It's and Percy Jacksons, and like they're all fine, but like they're not like Lord of the Rings. You know, they don't whisk you away quite. And this one doesn't always, because it's like modern modern in regards to the 40s, modern fantasy. But the fantastical elements of this movie definitely gave me this sense of a greater world.
Shrek opened with a fairy tale as well.
Shrek did open with a fairy tale, yeah.
Oh, yes? Oh, man, what a fan.
Nice.
Brilliant input.
That's what I'm here for, you know.
So yeah, we meet Ophelia and her mother Carmen, and they are in a car, and they're on the way to go to the mill where basically all of this movie takes place, because her father has died, but her mother is remarried. Captain Vidal, who is just a bad fucking fascist man.
Don't like him.
No, neither
His face
do
annoys
I.
me.
He was a very effective villain.
Oh,
I thought.
good
He was.
acting. 100% good acting.
Mm-hmm. There was
His face reminded me of someone. I kept on looking at him thinking, that's someone I know, and then realising that it's not someone I know because the person I'm watching is Spanish. But he reminded me of
I
someone.
know
really
what
bad.
you mean. I absolutely know what you mean. I
can't
couldn't
remember. I don't
find
know
the
who it is.
person.
He looks like a cross between Steve Carell and Mark Strong. In my
I can
mind.
see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
There's someone else, or there's
Who's
someone
Mark
that he
Strong?
looks like, though.
Who's Mark
Strong's
Strong?
the bald
He's
guy.
in loads of shit. He was.
Do you know who Mark Strong is, Amelia? He's hello.
When you go to View.
Makes
That's
you
it.
notice, doesn't it?
He was in 1917.
Not anymore, though.
He's in Kingsman.
Not anymore.
And he's in.
Oh, Kingsman, yeah. Oh, Kingsman.
Just
in loads
Google
of
him.
things.
Yeah, like him. He's a good
Yeah.
actor.
Yes. He should have been Lex Luthor, but that's a whole different thing.
He should have been Lex Luthor, I
He
agree.
should have been. Oh, God, it pissed me off.
That's a whole different thing.
It's a whole different thing. It's a different episode.
So yeah, so that they're going off that, and yeah, and I think he's a really, really good villain. We'll get into it more as we go through the movie. But there was like, when a villain, I know a villain's done a good job when he starts getting his comeuppance, and I start smiling. I'm start being like, fucking yeah. And this movie had one of those moments.
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, Carmen, she feels sick, so she gets asked for the car to stop, and Ophelia gets out, and she discovers a rock with an eye on it, and nearby is a monument with a face. She completes it, and out bursts this bug that looks like it's just a winged stick insect, essentially, but she calls it a fairy. Animal Boy. Is there anything in the animal kingdom that actually is like a stick insect with wings, or is this?
I thought it looked more like a praying mantis myself.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's fair.
But they haven't got wings. There's probably something out there that has wings and is that sort of shape, but the wings wouldn't be where they were.
Yes, yeah, I thought so. I thought they were very far down.
They are quite low down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looked pretty cool.
So over at the mill, Vidal is awaiting them, and he's looking at his pocket watch, and he murmurs to himself, 15 minutes late. And that's kind of all you're meant to think that the watch is there for, but we shall learn there is more to it. So they arrive. Vidal insists that Carmen is wheelchair bound. It's this little touch where Del Toro wants you to know from moment one, this marriage, it's not a two-way thing. It's not a two-way thing. He doesn't care about her. She is there to give him an heir, and he only wants her to sit in the wheelchair so that there's going to be no issues with the birth. But he doesn't really give a fuck about her. Just sit in the wheelchair, have your baby, don't interfere.
She is a vessel at this point.
Sorry?
She's just a vessel at the end of the day.
To him, yes. So then the furry returns. The furry. And I have to try and keep reminding myself.
Furry!
That's it.
Furry, yeah.
I have to keep
I
reminding
hope the furry didn't
myself to
return.
say fairy instead of...
Furry.
Because I'd normally say furry, but
Furry.
because of my accent.
I was like, when did that happen? I missed this.
Furry. And you know what? I get exactly what you mean. Furry.
It's like ask Sam to say hair or hairy.
Hair.
Hairy.
Oh no, you're simply saying hair now because you're saying fairy. Ordinarily you say her.
Do I say her? My her?
Hairy.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Nice.
but how else would you say it though? Hairy. Like with an high up there, like a...
Harry.
Hairy.
You'd say hurry.
Yeah, but who's saying that? That's how you say it? Who's the one who's saying that? Is it Sam or is it you guys? I don't get what's going on.
I'm saying hurry.
Hairy. Yeah, that's how you say it. How do you guys say it?
Harry.
With a high, like a
That
hairy.
man is very hairy.
That's really posh though.
Hairy.
Posh!
Rather than hurry.
Yeah, hairy. Yeah, it's like a low. It's like a down. It's like
Oh, it's a
hairy.
completely different vowel
Hairy.
sound.
No, it's not. Oh, this is too weird. I don't like it.
It's like the same difference. It's the same noise as the difference between fairy and furry. They're two
Furry.
different words.
Furry. No, I can't hear it. I'm afraid.
Fairy, furry, hairy, hurry.
Hairy. Yeah, but what's hairy though? That's not a word.
That's
Harry.
that's the point.
Hairy.
Harry. Not hurry.
Hairy.
I feel
That's
like
the
I'm
point
in.
I'm making.
I feel like
I'm
I'm
saying
in
the same
Audrey
word
Hepburn in
twice
Pretty
here.
Woman. Not Pretty Woman.
I'm
What's
like-
that film that she like is Cockney and she has to be all good? What's that film? Audrey Hepburn's in. I feel like I'm that. You guys never seen that?
No, I've not seen it. No.
Not
I
from
mean, I might have.
memory.
You've not seen what the
My
film's
Fair
called,
Lady. She's a Cockney
Oh.
and she's made to become a socialite in London. So she goes from having an accent to being just
Oh, wouldn't
regional.
it be lovely? That's my
Yeah.
fair lady, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain and all that nonsense. Great film.
Yes.
I'll pick it
Weird.
one day.
I wouldn't want to speak like that. One.
Anyway,
The fairy. Thanks for joining us, by the way, on that segment of the Outtakes Pronunciations podcast. The fairy returns and guides Ophelia to the labyrinth, where one of the maids, Mercedes, meets her, and she's like, "Look, don't, it's old and stuff. You don't want to get lost. Just be a bit careful." The labyrinth, by the way, was a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be.
It wasn't much of a labyrinth, was it?
I was
thought I
surprised.
expected this thing. Yeah.
I wouldn't even call it a maze.
No, they got through it very easily, I think. And then, especially at the end, she just gets like a helping hand, and what's the point?
It's one of these where I think my expectations were kind of... I think what I thought this movie was going to be was the movie Labyrinth. I thought the little girl's going to go into this big maze, this big stone maze, and encounter all sorts of fantastical things throughout it. So when it ended up being a lot smaller than that, and there was periphery, I enjoyed what the periphery was, but it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be.
Honestly, as well, I was very surprised to find that this film was in Spanish and not English. I had no idea that it was. It came up to English subtitles, and I was like, "Is this not an English film? Well, is this film not in English?" And then I felt really terrible because I was like, "Oh my god, do I just expect all films to be in English, like some dickhead or something?"
Do you know what? I tell you what, though, Joe. Honestly, I had a similar thing because it's been a movie I want to watch for a while, but I've never bothered to actually research it. I did make the assumption that it would just be in English because that's what most movies are. Well, that's not true, but that's what it feels like most movies.
Most movies I watch. The thing that, the reason I did is because I know people who watch this film and love this film, but they don't watch films that aren't English. They're not like film students.
Yeah.
They're people that don't watch films because they're not in English. So I was surprised because I knew that they liked it. So that was
my initial kind of shock was going into HMV to pick it up and being surprised to see it in the world cinema section, and that's what made me think, oh, is this not? Oh, okay. And by then I'd already told you guys, so I'd already decided. Where the fuck were we? Okay, yes. Mercedes is asked for by the captain, and she goes up and brings him some food, and they're planning military strategy, and she takes a little interest in what's going on. And in the next scene, the Dr. Fiera, hands her like a package of antibiotics and stuff, and basically Ophelia learns that there are traitors to the regime in our midst, but then doesn't act upon it. But we learn that. So it's the first night. Carmen's going to sleep, and Ophelia's there with her, and she promises I've got a surprise for you in the morning. And Ophelia's like, is it a book? Because all she does is carry around this big pile of fairy tale books that she's got, and she's just excited to read and go to other worlds. And her mother's like, it's much better than a book. She knows her daughter very well. So then, basically, the baby starts kicking and starts getting restless. So Carmen's like, tell your little brother a story. And we descend through the bed sheets into Carmen's womb. We see the baby.
Really weird.
It is really weird.
It threw me off, honestly.
So Del Toro has said, in regards to this movie, he calls it a sister movie to one of his other films, The Devil's Backbone, which is also set in 1939, but it's also set around the Spanish Civil War. Two of the characters from that do appear in this as unnamed guerrilla soldiers. The two protagonists from that movie sort of cameo in this. They are set in the same universe. But the reason he calls it a sister movie, as opposed to like a sequel or even a spiritual successor, is he says that The Devil's Backbone was the boys' side of the story I want to tell, whereas this is the girls' side of it. This is a story about coming of age from the perspective of this little girl. So he uses on purpose a lot of, is the word uteri imagery? For example, arbor, the fig tree that is split specifically in this uterus sort of shape, and there's a very not so subtle entrance that she goes into.
Holy shit!
Yes,
it's a vagina.
That big what?
Why does he put a toad in a big wooden tree vagina?
I mean, not absolutely everything is a vagina with it, but it's like 90% vagina.
Is he just really horny?
Maybe
it is.
Maybe.
But that's why he said that, because it's a very female coming of age story, and you start to notice a lot of things from here on out to do with that sort of stuff. That's why he wanted to enter the fantasy world for the first time through a womb. That's just how he wanted to do it. So Ophelia
Wait,
tells the
through-
story of. Sorry, Joe, were you saying something?
No, I was gonna say, that's like through, like, as if you're passing through, like, just not even stopping. You're like, oh,
Well, that's what happens, isn't it? You're just like, all right, you're right, baby. Ooh, a mountain. Like, that's what the shot is.
no, but you're there for like 9 months. You're not just chilling for a quick drink and then leaving. You know what I mean? Oh, I've got work in the morning. I got to go home. Like, you're there for like 9 months. So that's a lot of drinking. Passing through. Okay. It's only one end. No, you know what? It doesn't matter. Carry on.
9 months. That's a lot of drinking.
Well,
What?
it is. It is. Imagine drinking for 9 months straight. You would be dead. No, you know what? It's a whole. This is a whole different discussion. This isn't even about a woman. You know
It's
what?
a whole different thing.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole different thing. Continue.
So Ophelia tells the story of a magical rose that grows atop a mountain, and it can grant anyone who picks it eternal life, except all of the thorns surrounding it are poisonous. So all the men are too scared to go after it and take the prize. There is, when you think about it for half a second, there is a little bit of a problem with this story, and that would you not go and take the eternal life anyway? Because, you know what I mean? You get poisoned, but then it's like, hey, wait, can't kill me now. Like, you know what I mean? Got the rose. Unless the idea is the poison is also with you forever. There is the
Kills
potential
you
of that.
Instantly.
But then, if you're eternal life, the poison then, unless it causes you pain, maybe.
I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm not bringing the pothole up to be a dick. It's actually, I'm going to bring up a production point that the original version of this, it was all the same poison thorns all the way up to the mountain, but the rose was also going to be guarded by a dragon in the original version of this tale.
Yeah.
Like in Shrek.
Like in Shrek, yes.
I mean, we're not comparing this film to Shrek. Don't do this.
So wait,
see.
so Jacob,
We'll
are
see.
you suggesting he sat down and watched Shrek and was like, I could make a darker version of this in real life?
Well, I've
And
got
that's how
another
this film
film
was
that,
born.
like, this heavily reminded me of, that we've covered on this podcast.
Monsters Inc.
Beetlejuice.
Oh, right, okay.
Really?
There's a lot of... Yeah.
I can see it. I can
There's a
see
lot
it a
both-
little bit.
Bit fucking odd. The door thing,
Yeah, fair.
drawing a door. I thought, when I first watched Beetlejuice, I was like, that's a really clever idea. Drawing a door, and there you go, you got a door. What we got? Drawing a door with a chalk, you got a door.
I mean, it's
I mean, to
Smart
be
guys.
fair, there's a lot of things, other movies that this reminded me of as well, just throughout it. Some of them Del Toro has spoken about and has said that, while it's nice to be compared, it's not actually. We're coming up to one sooner rather than later, to be honest with you. So yeah, a dragon was supposed to be in it, and due to budgetary reasons, it's one of the only compromises he made was fine. I won't put the dragon in, but he was very unwilling to take compromises on this movie. Apparently, the end was a bit of a problem budget wise. Maybe that had something to do with the amount of extras. I'm not entirely sure, but originally based on the budget that they were receiving, they were not going to be able to do the ending that he wanted to do. So he waived his salary. He said, "I'll bet my salary on this ending. Take it away from me." And they did. They didn't give it him.
Oh, right, wait.
all right.
Wait, so he got
apparently-
paid nothing for this?
Apparently, on a lot of his movies, he's either asked to waive the full salary or half the salary in order to retain what he wants to do, because they basically turn around and say, well, we can't pay for this as well. So he said, okay, don't pay me.
I mean,
What a-
that right there, it's like, that's how you can tell that he's like in it for the actual story. He's not in it
Yes.
for the money, you know what I mean? I'm
He's
not
like,
one-
Michael Bay
how
doing
do I
that.
afford my second yacht? It's like, okay, yeah,
The
cool.
thing with it is, though, I'm not 100% sure I, as a director, would be that passionate about something. Like, if it's my passion project, maybe. But if it's something that I've been hired to do, I would maybe not.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Because, like, money.
This
I
one's
mean,
kind of his
apparent-
passion project, though, isn't it?
this is absolutely a
if it's,
passion project.
If it's
yeah.
something I've wrote and I want this story, then yeah, okay, fair enough. But if it's
Apparently, he
I don't know.
took a half pay cut on Blade 2 because he really wanted the vampires' mouths to go, and they weren't going to pay for it. So he was like,
Predator.
like in Predator. Yeah.
I don't want anything to be designed like it's been designed before.
Oh, give it
You make an excellent point.
I'm just saying, Shrek and Beetlejuice.
The doctor in the next scene is basically like, look, dude, to Vidal. He's like, look, you shouldn't have asked her to travel. She's popping any minute now. This is dangerous. Everyone knows this is dangerous. You're an idiot. And he's like, the son should be where the father is. And the doctor's like, how do you know it's going to be a son? And he's like, don't fuck with me. That's the line. Don't fuck with me. Don't fuck with me, boy. He is a horribly insecure little douchebag. And to be honest, the perfect attraction to fascism. That's exactly the sort of person that is going to fall in love with that kind of idea. There's a ruckus, and Vidal goes out to investigate it, and basically his soldiers have captured these two men, and they're like, they work for the rebellion. They say they don't, but they do. And the father's like, we were out hunting for rabbits. And the son's like, my father tells the truth. And Vidal's got this bottle in his hand.
Oof, this
I hate this bit.
Oh.
And he smashes the boy's face in. Just keeps going until his nose caves in. There is a lot of, well, not a lot, there's not a gratuitous amount, but the gore that is in this movie is
Grim.
Yeah, it's all sort of wince-worthy.
Mm-hmm.
It's equal parts massively cool and really, really hard to watch at the same time. He bashes this kid's face in, and the father's like, "You've killed him. You're a monster." So he shoots the father. And
I'm pretty sure at that point the kid wasn't dead either.
Kid wasn't even dead. Yeah.
Have you heard the story behind this? I watched a video again. I'm not 100% sure how true this is, but supposedly a lot of his inspiration for films comes from real life. Like you said, Sam, he had a shit upbringing, and apparently him and his friend were coming home from a night out, and they got jumped. And apparently, while he was getting whipped with a chain, I don't know how true this is. I'll have to send you the video. While he was getting smacked with this chain, he looked over to look at his friend who was getting hit in the face with the glass, and he noticed that the glass wasn't shattering. And apparently, that's where he got the idea for the guy being just smacked in, because they don't necessarily break like they do in the movies.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Pretty grim.
That is pretty grim.
Have you ever tried breaking a glass on the side of a table? Like they do in films?
I've never tried.
No.
Why have you tried that?
It's Joe, of course he's tried.
I've tried, and it doesn't work, and I chipped the table. That's how hard I was trying to do it. And I was like, and it just wasn't doing anything. And then, I'm really lucky, actually. Oh, God, was I at Scouts? I was at either a Scout or a mate.
Scouts!
Yeah. So,
You just straight up drinking Scouts.
I mean, I did say it was an alcoholic bottle. I think it was. Which makes me think it maybe wasn't Scout. But, I remember, I eventually managed to break it, and I'm really lucky I didn't, cut myself or anything. But, you have to hit it really hard. We did it against a wall, and a few times, and it finally, smashed. But it essentially, exploded on impact. But what was left in my hand wasn't something you could, like they do in films where it's a bottle, and you're yeah, it was about a bit of glass that was about that big, and I was looking at it I'm so fucking lucky that I'm not bleeding right now. But then I had to clean the glass up, and that was the whole thing.
That's unbelievable.
But my whole point is that yes, glasses don't actually break the way they do in films, and it's ridiculous. Because then when you do things in films, it leads people like me to test it out, and in other cases get injured. So.
Don't say things like that.
This is
it's not my fault to smash a bottle, right? It's every movie director ever.
It's Hollywood's fault. If it wasn't,
that's like saying games aren't violent and all that nonsense. You know, the whole thing where people are like, "Oh, video games make people violent." That's like you saying, "Oh, it's not a video game. I gotta fucking try it, bro."
I mean, in my defense, I was probably drunk, so.
At Scouts.
No, I don't think it was at Scouts. I have a scar on my hand.
Bunch of fucking 10-year-olds doing shots,
up against the wall.
Hey, Joe! I bet you can't break this glass, can you, Joe?
I see Scouts. I mean, to be fair, I probably had some Scouters, but I can't remember. But no, I mean, I have a thing. I don't. Can you see it? Can you see the scar on my... No, you can't. I have a scar on my hand that's chilling from when I, like, accidentally, like, axed my hand. But, like, was able to stop it just in time so that it didn't cut my thumb off. And I'll show you all, like, next time I see it. It's just chilling. It's really obvious in person.
It's just chilling.
It's just chilling.
Yeah.
Still got a thumb, but yeah, the scar's just chilling.
Yeah, no. It reminds me sometimes of how stupid I was that one time. So, but you know.
Guillermo.
It's a scar though, so it's cool.
There's
So
a
yeah,
very
anyway,
good chance
Pan's
Joe's going
Labyrinth.
to do something like that again, isn't there?
100%.
I mean,
Oh yeah, guaranteed. It's a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. So
watch this space.
yeah, he bashed the kid's face in, shoots the dad, shoots the kid again, properly kills him, and then they discover the rabbits in the bags. Turns out they were telling the truth after all. They weren't helping the rebellion at all. Then we get our third encounter with the fairy. Flies in to where Ophelia is sleeping, and she's like, "Are you a fairy?" And shows him a book, and the stick insect begins to resemble the silhouette that's in the book, and it flies away, and she follows, and that is where she encounters the labyrinth itself. She goes in, she finds this pit, she goes all the way down, and that is where she meets the faun. And he introduces himself with what is honestly one of my favorite lines ever now. It's so beautiful. I've had so many names that only the wind and the trees can pronounce. Oh,
Good
poetry,
line.
man.
Good line.
It's incredible. Did we all like the faun? What do we think?
Yeah, he's cool. Cool piece of practical
Does the
effect.
faun have a name? And
Okay.
is his name Pan?
No.
I was
Who
going
the
to wonder
fuck is Pan?
who's Pan.
So there is some contradictory stuff within officially released media surrounding this film. So I've got the Blu-ray, and the suit actor, the faun, almost every single creature in this is a suit actor that's then enhanced with CGI. The suit actor is a man called Doug Jones. You may have that stand out
Amazing
because it's
guy.
incredibly
is,
fucking English instead of Spanish. He's been in all sorts. He was in The Shape of Water. He's done a lot of stuff with Del Toro.
He was the
He's been
fish
in
guy
like
in
loads of his
Hellboy,
films,
wasn't
isn't
he?
he?
He
was-
he's also in
he's
Star
Abe
Trek
Sapien.
Discovery.
He's in like so much. He's one of those people, but you don't know that he's in so much because he's always wearing like prosthetic stuff.
Yes,
He does so
That's
much that
his
stuff.
niche.
He's in so much, and it's ridiculous.
He's kind of like the Andy Serkis of the sort of suit actor
about to
world.
say,
I suppose.
Yeah.
yeah.
He was in Hocus Pocus. Holy shit! I forgot about that film.
So he's in everything. He's in such a wide range of stuff. It's ridiculous.
So Doug, is English and learnt Spanish for this movie. They didn't get anyone else to do the voice. It was him, and I think one of the reasons Guillermo wanted him to be in this movie after working with him with Hellboy is probably because I imagine he would want the faun's version of Spanish to be a little bit weird, a little bit unnatural.
Not
and
perfect.
That's quite easily, done when it's not a native speaker performing it. So Doug has said that he in behind the scenes stuff that he was suiting up to play Pan. Concept arts and sketches in reference to the faun say Pan, but Guillermo Del Toro says the faun is not Pan, the faun is the faun. So Pan is an old literature folklore god, the great god Pan, who does sometimes show up looking very faun-like. It's been around since about the 1800s. It's a character that's shown up in lots of different things with lots of different names. The thing with Del Toro is he definitely has an idea of who Pan is in this universe, but we may never get to see it. There was a sequel planned once upon a time called, this was either its actual title or its working title, called 3993, where perhaps Pan may have showed up, but that movie was scrapped so that he could make Hellboy 2.
Oh.
Sad.
That doesn't sound like his choice.
The main reason I thought the faun was called Pan was because like the Spanish title, I don't speak Spanish, but it was something like the Labyrinth of Fauns.
El Laberinto Del Fauno.
Yeah.
The Labyrinth of the Fauno. Yeah.
So I thought, It doesn't seem
I mean,
like it'd be
Del
impossible.
Toro does address this in the interview where he says the fawn is not Pan. He basically says Pan's Labyrinth is just the international title of the film. Don't read too much into it. And specifically his reasoning for saying Pan is not the fawn is he says Pan is too dangerous a character to include in a story like this. Which is how you know that he knows exactly who Pan is in this universe.
Fair enough.
I don't want to link
use
this
that
film.
name.
I really don't want to link this film to Zootopia and a Disney film, but I feel like I feel like this is the same situation they had with that, because the European and World International release for that was Zootropolis. The original American was Zootopia, so I was calling it Zootopia. Everyone was like, "No, it's called Zootropolis." It's like, "No, it's called Zootopia," actually, because it must have been easier for them to translate Pan's Labyrinth, keep Pan as it is, do whatever they have as Labyrinth, instead of the Labyrinth of the Fawn, because then you've got to translate Fawn, you've got to translate Labyrinth of the... They probably just thought it was fucking hard, so one guy was probably just like, fuck it, Pan's Labyrinth, sorry Guillermo, fuck you. Like, they probably didn't care.
Maybe.
So, the fawn tells her that she is the princess Moana. I am Moana! Not that one. She is the Princess Moana, and that she must complete 3 tasks before the moon is full, and he hands her a blank book to help. This fawn knows Ophelia better than her mum does. Because in the morning, Carmen would bequeath her gift to Ophelia, and it would be a green dress, which, look, have we all seen that video of, it's a little kid opening a present on Christmas Day, and he goes, and inside he finds not a toy but a fruit, and he says, "Thanks,
An
avocado."
Thanks. Pretty amazing.
Even that kid was more grateful than Ophelia was for that dress. But that brings us quite neatly to the film's use of colours. So it's conventional, but also slightly not. So on purpose, the fantasy realm, the realm of magic, is very, very warm colours. The real world is extremely cold blue colours that get colder and colder and colder the more the film goes on. And in this scene here, we have a girl in a green dress. I think the green is supposed to sort of represent a bit of a middle ground between the two, but you could definitely read like a lot more into it. So, yeah, Carmen's basically like, right, go and have your bath, and then I want to see you in this dress. I want to see how pretty you look. And Ophelia takes the book with her and opens it up, and the pages start to write themselves. And they tell of an ancient fig tree called Arbor, and inside lies a toad that is not allowing the tree to grow. And basically the tree tried to fight back until it ripped itself in two. We've already talked about how it looks. It's supposed to look like a uterus. I love the look of this tree.
It's well cool.
Looking tree.
It's a good tree.
Oh, should we rate it on our tree scale?
I was just going to say, it's been a long time since we visited the treeometer.
Very good.
We definitely missed some trees along the way. But I think if we had to rank 2 trees together, the big trees in Vertigo versus this tree here, I'm picking this tree here.
Yeah.
This tree's quite unique. I love the redwood forests, but this is a cool tree. I'm gonna go for that tree.
So, yeah, she learns all about that, and then she emerges in her dress, and everyone's like, "Oh, look how beautiful you are." This is Mercedes gets her some milk and is like, "Stay away! You don't want to get your dress all milky."
Oh dear.
So Vidal calls Mercedes away and is being guided around the stock room, and they're like, "Look, we've got antibiotics, we've got real tobacco, we've got this, that, and the other." And he's like, "Mercedes, you have the key." And she's like, "Yep." And he's like, "This is the only one." And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Right, cool, it's mine then." So Ophelia goes to... then we get the bit where the smoke rises up to the trees and all of Vidal's men go to investigate. So Ophelia, meanwhile, goes to the fig tree, and she learns that she's got to feed the toad 3 magic stones in order to retrieve the golden key from within. I love how simple all of the little... It really does feel like a fairy tale from hundreds of years ago. And I feel like that's difficult to do.
It feels very original.
Fresh, you know? Yeah.
Which is what like you say, I think that's why it does so well as a fairy tale, because, like you say, it's not like he's having to... I'm trying to think of, like, typical, like, fairy tale tasks, but he's not having to, you know... She's not having to go and save someone. She's not having to, I don't know, bury something in the ground, climb up it, and, I don't know, steal a harp. I'm trying to think of things, but I can't.
I feel like one of the things that works in its favour, Del Toro talks about this, is how we very purposely use the rule of 3 across the entire movie. Yeah. You can see the monument inside the labyrinth has the fawn, it has Ophelia, it has her brother. You have Vidal and his 2 guards always. There's 3 there. There's 3 doors behind the pale man. There's 3 magic stones. There's 3 tasks. There's 3 days before the full moon. And I think just using that as a basic, here are 3 things you've got to do. I don't know. It's simplicity is difficult, but that's it. It's just simple. Just pick 3 things, and it doesn't really matter what the rules are or why there is rules. That's the point. It's magic, you know? Yeah. So deal with it. So Ophelia takes off a dress so that she won't ruin it, and ventures into the tree, into the not so subtle entranceway to the tree.
Vagina.
That's definitely a soundbite you got to clip and just use for something else.
You are.
Vidal does get to where the smoke was, and they discover some leftover antibiotics and lottery tickets. Meanwhile, Ophelia encounters the toad. So this is another example of production getting in the way of things. So she's crawling through this muddy, bug-infested tree, and it's gross, and then just down one cavern, there is a toad, and it sort of comes out of nowhere. Now, that wasn't originally where the toad was meant to be. The sequence here was actually supposed to be a bit more of a fight. They built this huge set, this massive set, and it's gorgeous, and it looks like the caverns but expanded, and it's got this amber dripping from the ceiling, this gorgeous glowing amber, and the frog was going to go in it, and the frog was literally going to be like jumping around and attacking her, and she was going to have to like roll and dodge like Dark Souls, you know. Nice. and fight this frog, and basically they made a giant animatronic frog, and you can see it in the movie, and there was some worry that what if it's too heavy, what if it can't jump. No, it's fine. Build this whole set, spend all the money building the set. The fucker's too heavy.
Frog can't jump.
It can't jump. It can't jump. So basically they had a weekend to figure out what to do. Because if you put the frog in the huge big set and all it can do is sit, it's supposed to, toad even. It's supposed to be a giant toad. It's going to look tiny in this huge fucking set where it's not doing anything. So we're going to have to try and rapidly change the sequence. So they threw it. They'd already built the caverns for it to crawl through. They're like, right, put the animatronic in there, and we'll just CGI over it. We'll just work it out. And I think, unfortunately, you can kind of tell. Like, when the tongue comes out and stuff, it feels like the most rush jobby sort of just throw it in there thing in the movie. Everything else feels got a bit more care. Although, I was surprised to learn that it was supposed to be a fight, because her tricking the toad by making it think that the stones were the cockroaches. I was like, yeah,
wood lice.
Oh, wood lice, thank you. Giant fucking wood lice.
Big ass wood lice.
Big ass wood lice. So it eats the magic stones, and the toad's internals begin to emerge out of its mouth in the most grotesque fucking way. I assume we all felt very comfortable watching this.
So comfortable. Watch it again.
That's not what the inside of a toad looks like either. It doesn't look like that. It's not just one big yellow, like, what's it?
What? Don't call it what's
look like
it? No,
I mean,
can't eat what's
Soggy
it.
what's it? Yeah.
No, don't even
Grounded.
ruin it more.
It wasn't like a crispy, nice.
soggy what's it?
It was a soggy what's it.
What's it's a ruined.
Just don't eat them wet. It'll be fine.
Soggy what's it sounds like a website you try and trick your mates to go on in like high school, you know?
I'm alright.
SoggyWhat'sIt.com. Is that a thing? Does anyone want to check?
We'll buy it if it's not. So, and lying on top is this golden key. So, back at the mill, they're preparing for a dinner party. That's why Ophelia had the dress in the first place. And Ophelia returns in the middle of it, absolutely caked in mud. Dress is ruined. It fell off the tree. Oh no, I'm sure she's gutted. But at the dinner party, Vidal is being a massive fucking dick. Some people are like, how did you two meet then? And she's like, well, he made, my husband made suits for him and then we met again. And he goes, I'm sorry, my wife doesn't go out much. She doesn't know that these stories bore people. It's like, want to tone it down a bit? Just a bit?
Such a
Like, how did you get with
bitch.
her in the first place? I'm sure you've got a charm switch somewhere.
Fine, probably just threatened her into it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
We won't dwell
Probably.
on that too much.
Probably right. So, while there, one of the soldiers tells Vidal that, I served with your father. And they say that, he died on the battlefield, and what he did is he took his watch out and he smashed it on a rock so that his son would know the exact time and place that he died, so he'd know what a true man was. And Vidal's like, my father didn't even have a watch, but now we know why he keeps checking his watch.
Oh, he's got that fucking watch.
Yeah.
I like that.
He's like, I'm going to die one day, and I need to know exactly when so that my son will know what being a man is about. So Ophelia's mum has meanwhile dealt with her while she's all muddy and attempting to scorn her. And she's like, you've disappointed me, and you've disappointed your father. And Ophelia's like, you mean the captain? And she's like, yeah, you've disappointed him a lot. And she's like, nice. Ophelia's groaning in the bath. She's like, great, he's a prick. I hate him. And the fairy returns once again. And she's like, right, take me. I need to go back to the labyrinth. Take me back to the labyrinth. And the fawn is like, yeah, pretty good, mate. You got that key? That's probably going to come in handy. Here you are. Here's some chalk. She's like, great. So the next day, Ophelia asks the book, right, what do I do? I've got some chalk. This is a bit, this is the pulling my leg here. You got to tell me something. This is ridiculous. And the book just starts going blood red. And again, just before it entirely coats in red blood, you do see the outline of a uterus briefly.
I noticed that one. I noticed that one.
Yeah. So Ophelia opens the door and discovers her mum is absolutely covered in blood. Something is going wrong with the birth. Ophelia comes over, begins to look after her. She's comforting her when they're crying, and she hums her this lullaby. So, Mercedes later then goes out with the doctor, and they sneak out to treat some of the wounded rebels. And this is another one of those fucking wince-worthy scenes where some man's leg is really badly infected, and the doctor's like, I'm going to have to cut it off. And you get that moment, literally just before it cuts, you see the saw go in.
I can watch it.
It's horrible.
It made me cringe really bad.
It really, even describing it, there's a tension in my chest.
I hate it.
Like, it's the bit where he says, like, oh, hold on a sec, I thought something was going to happen. Then he's like, right, go on. And he just, like, goes with the saw, and I'm like...
Hold that suspension for as long as they can.
Yeah. I'm so glad it cut before it actually cut off the leg.
Yeah. It's really, really good, but it is hard to watch. While we're there, we meet a young boy, one of the members of the rebellion, who's got a bad stutter, but Normandy's happening somewhere over there. World War II is coming to an end. I didn't know, because I'm like uncultured. I didn't know that Spain was neutral during World War II. I don't know if this is common information.
I did history. That's the only reason why I know.
The only reason I knew is because we were in college and I was on the bus and I turned to my mate and was like, "Were there any countries not involved in World War II?" And we googled it. Spain was one of them. I did not know it was because they were they were in the midst of a civil war. I did not know that until
well, do you know that there is
movie.
actually the thing is, there is another reason. They weren't technically in the midst of a civil war. The civil war officially ended in 1939. There was just little bits of rebellion. So there's two big reasons they weren't involved in World War II. One of them was that they were worried, but basically they knew it's a fascist regime. They knew which side they were going to pick, and they were worried that joining the Axis powers would mean that trade with America would stop, and they very highly depended on trade with America. One of the other reasons is the Axis powers were like, "I don't think we want you."
That's rough.
Oof.
I really want you to be involved.
What you're saying is they didn't want him, and they tried to save face by saying, "Oh, we're actually not doing it because we want to trade with America." That's the
what
real
it sounds
reason.
like. Yeah.
So it's like, let's just save the embarrassment. It'll be fine.
The fawn shows up in the attic and is like, "You've not done anything, have you, today? You've been a bit of a lazy fucker." And Ophelia's like, my mum's like dying, mate. Have a bit of humility." And he's like, "Right, okay, excuses, I don't really care. Have a mandrake root. Put it in milk, drop some blood on it, and stick it under your mum." What I really appreciated...
That sounds really weird.
Stick it under your
Stick it under your mum.
Stick it under your mum. What I appreciated is how he doesn't say, and not at any point does the fawn actually say, "It's going to help her."
No, that's true.
He just says do it. You know, you do have a little scene earlier earlier where Ophelia tells Mercedes, "Oh, I met a fawn," and Mercedes is like, "My mum said never trust a fawn." And it's just this little thing of like, is he a good guy?
I questioned it in different points, to be honest. Especially near the end, I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Also,
sorry, go on.
Mandrakes, they're like a common mythical thing, right?
They show up in a lot, yeah.
Okay, good.
They're in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Are those things
Merlin?
that like scream when you take
Screaming mandrake.
Yes.
That's what they're called.
Oh man, I've literally just made that connection because
Have you ever
Harry
actually seen a
Potter
real
too.
mandrake root though? They genuinely do look like little tiny wrinkly babies. It's genuinely a thing.
Mad. Oh my God.
There you go.
Weird.
If you look
But it's
Google
screaming
mandrake
what?
root, it genuinely does. That's how J.K. Rowling got the idea.
They didn't use any real mandrake root on the movie. They had like puppets, and they enhanced puppets with CGI and things like this. There was for the actual scene where Ophelia puts it in the milk. They were like, right, we can pop the puppet in, but it's going to be really difficult to fully animate it going "Wah," and coming to life.
Enjoying its
with
bath.
the puppet in place. So can we put something in its place? So they gave the actress, what she's called Ivana. They gave Ivana a potato to hold. A potato was the placeholder for the mandrake in one scene, but they didn't end up using the take because her eye lines were a little bit off, and Guillermo didn't like the take, so he gave it to the special effects team, being like, "Soz, mate, puppets in it. Do your worst."
What dick move.
So in the background, I can only spot it now that I know, but in the background, because of the space that the animation's got to occupy, the bed sheets that are covering Carmen in the background are entirely digitally painted over. They are CGI bed sheets.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow. They
I
have to
can
do
see
that.
CGI bed sheets like comfy to sleep on. I'm curious.
What, CGI bed sheets?
Yeah.
I don't imagine you'd feel them.
You know
Well,
what
no, you
CGI
wouldn't,
stands for, Joe, right?
I know what CGI stands for, yeah.
Oh my
And you know
God.
that it's not real.
Yeah, I know. I
don't imagine covering
joke.
yourself with a .png would do much for you.
That's I was trying to think of something that CGI could stand for in relation to bed sheets. Cotton.
Comfy.
Cotton.
Yeah.
CGI. Cotton. Gains.
Keep thinking about it, Joe. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, I'll think of it. I'll get to it. I'll get there.
Comfort-giving interface. There you go. Or item. A comfort-giving item.
There we go.
it.
See?
There
Sorted. Comfort-giving item.
Amazing. Brilliant. Love
So
this.
yeah.
That's what was on the bed sheet.
He says,
the
go and do that.
item.
He says, go and pop this plant under your mum. And meanwhile...
Brilliant.
So we cut and Ophelia gets up and she's like and she opens the book again and is like, you best be telling me what's going on here, mate. I don't want no fucking blood pages. Come on. And unveils this painting of this bizarre naked creature cupping like watermelons little children in its arms, and it says, draw a chalk door and place an hourglass before it, and don't eat anything while you're there. There's gonna be a meal. Don't eat anything, and come back before the sands run out. So the pale man sits before a beautiful banquet. What do we all think of the Pale Man? This is the thing that I think is most commonly referenced when it comes to Pan's Labyrinth. An easy way to talk about this movie is to say, oh, have you seen Pan's Labyrinth? Oh, is that the one with, you know...
Yeah, this is the thing that I thought of when you told me about it. When you said that this is what we were doing last week, I thought of this particular creature. I thought this was like the main bad guy in the whole film.
I thought it was in it for a lot longer.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that it was like a big thing. Yeah.
Also, if you go into a room, this weird, like, semi-dormant creature thing hasn't got any eyes, but there are some eyes on the plate in front of it. Just throw away the eyes.
Bin the eyes.
Get rid of them. Squash them. What's he going to do then? Can't see you.
I was talking to our boy Will today, and he made some excellent points about there's a fireplace, put the eyes in the fireplace. If he's dormant, just push him over.
Yeah. Just get rid of the eyes.
You know, he's not going to do anything. Just get rid of him. So yeah, he sits before this beautiful banquet, and around him are Catholic-style paintings all around him, the sort of things you see at the top of cathedrals. Del Toro is someone who was brought up Catholic but has kind of renounced it. But he says that once a Catholic, always a Catholic. He says, I spend 23 hours a day feeling guilty.
Oof.
So what's the hour? What's the 1 hour?
Having a
What does he do in that hour?
As someone who was brought up Catholic myself, but also renounces it, I kind of get what he means. There are things that they drill fucking into your brain, going to like a Catholic church and a Catholic school, that are very hard to bin. It's very easy to put way too much blame on yourself. And I mean, look, this is grim. Sorry for bringing it up during this Fun Time podcast. But even though I'm a total atheist, when I found out that my cat was going to have to be put to sleep a couple of years ago, my cat, who I thought of as my little brother, I started pleading to the sky for it to not happen. I just couldn't help it. It's something I just did, you know? And that's upsetting. But like, I totally renounced religion, and yet there I was looking up, begging and pleading to something I don't even believe in. Bizarre. But the reason all this stuff is here, the paintings that are over the pale man of him eating children, is a very intense and intentional criticism of the Catholic Church. This idea that before you sits all this food and all you want is kids. Catholic Church.
Not good. That's not good, but see, yes, you understand.
Nom.
Yes. I remember being very young when this movie would have come out. I wasn't touched by a priest. Don't worry. Scooting over that. Wasn't touched by any priests.
Thank God for that.
Go to church. Wasn't touched. Confirmed. Anyway, I remember being very young when this movie came out, and I remember seeing it picked up a lot of awards. It won, I think, like 3. Actually, I have.
It won 3 Oscars. I know that.
It did win 3 Oscars.
Didn't it win Best Picture? Wasn't that one of them? Or Best
it did not win Best Picture.
Did it not?
Shape of Water did win Best Picture.
I know that. Did he win Director for that as well, didn't he? Shape of Water?
Yes. But it did win Best Cinematography, Best Art Direction, and Best Makeup. It also won 2 BAFTAs, Best Costume Design and Best Film Not in the English Language. And it was the BAFTAs that actually introduced me to this as a kid. I remember, for some reason, being excited for these award shows when I was little. I used to really, really be into them. So I remember watching it, and they played a clip from this scene as one of the nomination things. And when he fucking puts his eyes into his hands and does this, it was one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. And I think it scarred me a little bit. I was like,
this scene scarred me as a child.
Don't like it.
100%.
I hated it. Really.
My dad showed me this either this scene or parts of this scene, or I walked in on him watching a movie. I don't know, because when this came out, I was 7, and I have this strong memory of seeing this scene. Fucking freaked out for weeks. Don't like it.
Yeah,
so when I
same.
rewatched it, I was like, still don't like it. Don't know why. Don't like it. Like, I don't know whether that was.
I think as an adult, I've overcome it a little bit, and I just enjoyed it. But yeah, it definitely left an impact on me as a kid, and it's one of the reasons that as this movie continued to get brought up throughout my life, it was always the thing that I thought of, and it was always what made me go, I do want to try it. I want to see. It was so weird. It was so different. It was so unique. I've not seen anything like it since, and I've not seen anything like it beforehand. So I wanted to give it a go. And I guess I was a little bit disappointed by how short it was, but it does leave its impact. So behind him are 3 doors, and she's got the key. And the fairies are like, this one, and she's like, it doesn't feel good. I'm gonna go for the other one. And she's rewarded with a knife. And on the way out, the fairies are like, remember, don't eat anything. And she's like, grape. And they're like, no, and she's like, grape. And they're like, no. And she's like, poof, backhand, grape. Takes a grape, and that awakens the dormant pale man. I don't know how the fuck she doesn't hear him screaming and scratching and breathing. And
I thought the same, right? But then if you think about it, all those birds are like no, not the birds, the fairies. They're all like proper in her ear, like trying to think. And she's like, fuck off, you know, like that, like whoa. And like, I couldn't hear like, the flitter in the wings. Maybe when it gets like right behind her and he starts making like weird sounds. Fair enough, you know, she should have been able to hear him. But as he's all like, oh, there's my eye, fucking stick that in there. Hey, yeah, maybe like, I don't know.
She just high-fived him. What would you done? Fuck, I can't see. Got him.
It's kind of bizarre, the pale man, because it does seem to leave an impact. If you Google this movie, for example, if you just put the words Pan's Labyrinth in, one of the first results that I get along the like videos section of Google is Pan's Labyrinth pale man scene. But he does seem quite easily defeatable.
She had a knife.
Yeah.
She did have a knife.
Cut his hands off.
She did have a knife.
Sorry.
Poke him in the eyes.
But yeah, literally.
Now the whole point
obviously
is that she's too innocent to hurt anything, even this this really scary monster. But he does seem really easily defeatable. Also, it's bad because as soon as the big dagger came out, I turned to Charlotte and I was like, I wonder if there's a map in that, because that's where you put maps in daggers, JJ. That's for another time. She's eating the grapes and the pale man gets up and he's like, ooh, don't be eating my food. He sort of makes chase and she's like, oh, I fucked her ear, haven't I? He grabs one of the fairies out of the air, bites its head off. She pegs it down that hallway, and the sands of time, they are running slim, brother, and the door closes on her. She leaps up onto a chair and begins to draw a door above her. I don't know why she can't just draw like a slightly tinier door in the door she's already made, but whatever, it makes for a more tense scene. She draws the door above her and she gets out with like moments to spare. And yeah, I liked it. It was a good scene.
I felt tense watching, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoyed it at the ending, yeah.
In the morning, that's when Ophelia tries out the mandrake root stuff, and she puts it in the milk, chucks it under the bed, she bites the thumb, 1, 2 drops, and it fucking works. It's actually making her mum better. And the doctor's like, what's gone on here? This is cray-cray. I don't understand it. Meanwhile, an explosion goes off outside, and Vidal's men go to investigate it, and it's a train that's collided, but it was a distraction because another explosion goes off back at the mill. They go back. The rebellion are there. They've broken into the storeroom. They've used Mercedes' spare key. They've robbed some stuff, but on the way out, they are caught by some of Vidal's men. They give chase uphill, and he checks his watch, and then he puts it away, and he continues running up the hill, and you can hear the clock ticking the whole way he's running up the hill. I thought it was a really nice bit of sound design. But in the end, the fascists, they do a win, and there is like two of them left alive on the hill. One of them is someone who's been shot in the throat, and he can't speak at all. And he keeps trying to bat away Vidal's gun, and Vidal's just toying with him. And he's just like, nope, gonna shoot you. Oh, you pushed me. Oh, gonna shoot you. Oh, look at him go. Until the hand stays on the gun, shoots through the hand, kills him. We find another one, and it is the boy who has the stutter. So they capture him, and they just fucking torment him. He's like, look at all my torture gear. Here, we're going to play a little game, because you're not going to tell me anything. So I'm going to start playing with my hammer. Then you'll tell me a couple of things. And then we're going to get the pliers out, and we'll get a little bit more. And he gets an ice pick out, and he's like, and by the time we get to this, I'll believe anything you tell me. And then he says to him, right, I'll make you a deal, stutter boy. If you can count to 3 without stuttering, I'll let you go. I'll let you go. And this again, one tense scene after another, I thought was really fucking good. The film person in me knew exactly what had to happen, but as he desperately tries to get that 3 out, I was like, come on, no. Really, really well paced. He whacks him in the head with a hammer. And the fawn pays a visit to Ophelia in the night, and he's like, how's your mum? And she's like, my mum's all right, but I've oopsie whoopsie, I've done a fucky wookie. And he's like, a fucky wookie. And
oh no.
The furry emerges from the case, and he's like, she's stolen it, and all my friends are dead. And he's like, you fucking stole that fruit, did you? Right, well, that's it then. That's it. Game over. You've fucked it all up. No chance now. You shall age like them. You shall die like them. And in time, all memory of you will fade, and we will fade along with you.
Oof.
Really good line, and he disappears. This point in the movie is something that the special effects team really like to big up Doug for doing, because he is covered head to toe in this fucking costume. He's on stilts. You know, his body's naturally given out, because this thing is, the fawn moves in a weird way, but some of it is Doug actually just shaking, you know, from his fucking muscles, like, you know, not participating. And it works really well, but that's why it's happening. So he's on these stilts, he's covered head to toe, he's speaking a language that's not native to him, he's moving backwards in the dark, and he's got to disappear behind all this furniture, and motherfucker nails it. It's really, really good stuff.
See, when you say disappear behind the furniture, I'm picturing him just crouching behind a chair.
I mean, that is what happens, essentially.
It is,
they mask it with sound design. He goes, whoosh, and you're led to believe that he disappears, but that's all he does. He just
crouches behind a chair and wait.
Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep.
Waits for us to fucking go to bed and vaults out the window or something.
So yeah, that's it. He's gone. And I really like, a nice little touch is that until near the end of the movie now, the magic stuff just goes away.
It feels like all the bad stuff kind of like happens all at once.
Yeah,
and I kind of like it. Yeah, it's like all the bad stuff happens, and it's like, oh no, and then yeah.
Do we think this
thinking,
is? Sorry,
go on, Amelia.
I was gonna say, do we think this is like normal storybook narrative where it's like like, you know, when you have just before the good shit happens or whatever, you have like, ah, oh, okay, now.
Yeah. That's what I thought it was when I was watching it.
It's one of these, isn't it, where at the end of the day, there's that structure. There's a reason we've had it, and there's a reason we've had it so long, is it works. And when you try and fuck with it, unless you're exceptionally skilled, it's going to fall apart. I think it's more impressive to stick with the familiar thing and still present something that stands out to you.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I remember coming away from this movie and sort of having this thought of, I was a little bit gutted that there wasn't more magical stuff in it than there was. But also, when it comes back at the end of the movie, it feels more exciting because it's been away, because it's gone away during this low point in the plot. I think if it had just consistently popped up every now and again for a little goof and a gaff, and then you have the ending, it probably would have been a little bit less impactful. Absence makes the heart, as they say. So yeah, the doctor's called in to tend to the boy after his torture. His hand is split in two now. You sort of see bits dangle. Yeah. So
I didn't notice that. I knew his hand was pretty fucked. I didn't see it was.
It's literally. So it's stuck in this sort of claw thing, and you can see this V shape where it's been split in two, presumably by the ice pick. Yeah.
Ouch.
So he's like, mate, just kill me, please. I talked. I didn't say much, but I talked. Please just end this. So the doctor does. He gets his syringe out and he starts injecting him. But in the background, Vidal has noticed that the antibiotics that the doctor has is the exact same vial as the ones the rebellion's got. He's like, damn son, they both shop at B&Q. Oh wait, no. What if he's oh no. So he comes down and he's like, why didn't you obey me? And the doctor's like, because obeying's for people like you, people who don't like to think. I can't do that. And he walks away, and Vidal walks out, and he shoots him, and he carries on walking. He takes a good 5 more steps before he succumbs to it. And I really liked that.
What a badass.
I thought it was powerful. Yeah.
What a way to go.
If I ever get shot, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Just try, no sell it. Just keep walking.
But let him react. Don't give him the satisfaction of reacting.
Uh-huh.
So via gunshot.
In between those scenes, though, Ophelia has gone to check on the Mandrake route, and basically Vidal walks in and catches her and he's like, what are you doing under there? And he's like, look, Carmen, she's hiding. What is this? What even is this? It's mucky. Look at what your daughter's doing. And Carmen's like, okay, let me deal with this. And then Carmen's like, what are you doing? What is this? And Ophelia's like, look, it's magic. It's a magical mandrake root. And this bursts into this whole argument, and she throws the mandrake into the fire, and it starts screaming. And as it starts screaming, so does she, because she goes into full-on labor. So Vidal returns from doing a murder, and there's this shot of them both sort of waiting outside the room in silence. It's a really nice looking shot. And Mercedes comes out and he's like, your wife's dead. Carmen has died in childbirth. So
Sounds a lot like Padme in Revenge of the Sith.
In Revenge of the Sith.
Saying.
Did she die from a broken heart? Maybe.
Who knows?
Big sad.
Oh, the fucking movie.
Dying in childbirth was probably a thing before Revenge of the Sith. Probably,
yeah.
I'm not an expert.
Dying in childbirth from a broken heart, that was invented for Revenge of the Sith. Because that's never happened.
That's a good point.
Ever.
Never happened before. She popped her clogs. And because of the betrayal from the doctor, Vidal's like, right, this boy told me that there is an informant. I don't reckon it was just him. So he sits Mercedes down and he's like, yeah, Mercedes, have a little drink. Then he's like, do you know what? I've run out of drink. Go and get me a drink. So Mercedes gets up and he's like, whoa. Don't you need something? And she's like, what? And he's like, I've got the key. And she's like, fuck. So And she's like, all right, yeah, I'll take the key. I'll go get the stuff. And she gathers her things, and she's like, right, I'm going. And she goes to tell Ophelia, and she's like, I'm leaving. And Ophelia's like, you've got to take me with you. This is ridiculous. And she's like, I can't. But then relents and tries to take her away. But Vidal catches her and takes them back and splits them both up. He goes to torture Mercedes. He pulls the same act, a very similar act of this is all my torturing goodies. But in the background, Mercedes pulls out a knife. This is something that's set up really, really well. You see her cutting stuff in the kitchen every now and again, and after every single time you see it, she just tucks it away in a little pinny, and you know she's always got it. So she starts cutting, and you don't actually see her escape. You just see Vidal fucking do this because he's got a knife in the back. And this was the moment where I was like, yes!
Damn, son!
Comeuppance! It was one of these where I felt weird because I had this conflict of like, oh, well, no, Mercedes can't do it because, like, she's not our main protagonist. But also, please kill him. Like, you know.
Fair enough.
So she stabs him in the back. She stabs him in the front. And she sticks a knife in his cheek. And cuts a big old grin in it. This is 2 years before The Dark Knight, by the way, as well.
Damn
it! I don't want to say, this is where Nolan got the idea from, but I would be shocked to learn that he had not seen this before producing The Dark Knight. It's just particularly when you see it later, you get this chance to see the wound, and he stretches his mouth, and the wound stretches. It's kind of like, I don't know, like I know I have to see the Joker because I've seen the Joker with scars now, but I feel like I would have seen it regardless,
Yeah.
Inventive way to do that horrible smile. So cuts his mouth open, and she leaves the room, and the guard's like, whoa, that's a bit weird. And he's like, the other guard's like, shut up, man, my lottery ticket that I stole. It comes back.
I like that.
It's all part of something. So it takes them half a second. And Vidal runs out, and he's like, "Fuck, are you doing? Go and get after her." So they make way. They chase her on horse, even though she's running away on human legs. Don't feel like they need the horses, but whatever.
No, I was very surprised that they didn't catch up to her earlier. Honestly, they could have so just like, unless they wanted her to be alive, so they didn't want to just like run her down with the horse. But they were just kind of like, come on, boys, let's just, she's on foot, it's fine, come on. I'm just getting my horse. We're on horses, just take your time, it's fine.
They're just holding X to match speed with each other.
Literally, yeah. The bar goes green and everything.
So,
whistling for everything, the horse. In the forest.
She gets like halfway into the forest, and then the fascists all round her up, and she's like, I've got a knife, and they're like, we got guns, and she's like, I've got a neck, and they're like, oh boy. It makes them hesitate for half a second, and then he's like, right, look, if either of us are gonna kill, if you're gonna die, it's better off being me, so let's not be stupid. And then bullets rain from out of nowhere, the rebellion has shown up, the reinforcements have arrived, and things are looking up for Spain and Mercedes and our little gang of main characters.
Yeah.
Hope.
All right,
so,
blow up the Death Star next.
I was waiting for the pause, but right, Rebellion, where have we heard that before? Star Wars. It's Star Wars with fawns in it.
Rebellions are built on hope. So, the fawn shows up one more time, and he's like, right, I can give you a second chance. I'm going to need your brother. And he's like, are you going to do what I say? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, seriously, no questions asked? And she's like, yeah, I'll do it. I need to get away from here. Fantasyland princess sounds pretty dope instead of being with a bunch of fascists. So, she goes, she says, the door's locked. And he's like, make a door. Here's some more chalk. Where do I keep getting it from? Keep popping down to Cassart, buying some chalk. So she sneaks into Vidal's room, and before we see her, we see him sewing up the wound on his mouth.
Oh, did not like this bit.
And this is another particularly hard scene to watch. So obviously the whole wound was prosthetics enhanced with CGI, but he really was sewing that prosthetic up, legit. And the whole crew credit him for being an incredibly brave person, because it wouldn't have taken much of a mistake for him to actually go into his own cheek.
No.
Whether he did go into his own cheek, I don't know, but they all credit him for being brave.
Grim.
Fuck that.
Yeah. He takes a drink of his whiskey, and it
what a
makes the
dickhead.
wound bleed.
You does
As
that.
soon as you did that, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt so
What a
much.
twat. You deserve that one. Like,
Yeah.
it's the thing. Like, you'd at least do it like with a tail and be like, drink it in this cheek and
Grab
let
a
it kind of
straw.
like swallow that way. Yeah, a straw. Just tiny. He doesn't have to drink the whole thing. Just like little sips. You know what I mean? Would have saved him washing a glass to clean as well if he just drank it straight out of the bottle. It was just a bit easier. It's his own fault.
Priorities right there.
I'm just saying, like, it's his own fault.
So a guard, so he sort of leaves. Ophelia gets up and starts going about the place, and grabs her brother and hides. And then Vidal comes back with a guard, and they're there for a little bit. And then Ophelia's like, right, this is my opportunity to leave. Whoopsie-doo, explosion. Vidal has seen them, but in the interim, she has placed some of her mother's sleep medicine into Vidal's whiskey, and he's going all woozy, and it has the "you're drunk in a video game" effect on the screen. And Vidal's like, right, you fucking bitch. Pulls out his gun and starts opening fire on her, but keeps missing because of the alcohol. She runs out into the labyrinth, and he gives chase. This is a painfully obvious call to The Shining, like the way he's stumbling. Even I really enjoyed it, but you know, it's really, really abundantly clear. So she's just running through the labyrinth. Opens up for her, and she passes through a sideway, and the faun's there, and he's like, right, give me your brother. And she's like, bitch, you got a knife. And he's like, yeah, look, it's fine. The portal needs a bit of blood of an innocent person, so I'm gonna your brother. It's fine, it's not even gonna be a big thing. Just in your brother. And she's like, no. And he's like, you don't even know him. And she's like, nah. And I think I love this about the character of Ophelia, because this child, for all intents and purposes, killed her mum. Not intentionally, you know, obviously. Yeah. She was put under a lot of stress from Vidal and everything. But Ophelia's quite young. And I do feel like sometimes this sort of narrative tends to sway into we saw it in Game of Thrones. They don't like Tyrion because Tyrion killed, you know, their mum. Yeah. But Ophelia is like, no, it's my brother. This is my blood. You know, I don't want you to harm him. I don't, as much as I don't want you to harm the next person. There's no harming, niceness. And she's a really, really, really strong-willed character. So the faun's like, you said you'd obey me. This is bollocks. I'm off.
What a twat.
As he's scolding her, Vidal makes his way into the end of the labyrinth, and he takes the brother and he shoots her. And I was like,
I was like, oh shit.
Like, this is, despite seeing the result of the first shot of the movie, I was like, if I saw this movie going anywhere, it was not her dying.
No. It's not.
So she falls by the edge of the pit, and Vidal takes the baby away, but is cut off at the pass by the rebellion. And he's like, right, there's 50 of you, there's one of me, I'm not stupid. Here's my son. And then he gets out his watch. Tell him when I died. Tell him. Mercedes goes, he won't even know your name. Boom!
Love that.
Cap in his face.
Love that.
Well good. Really, really satisfying end to the villain. Really, really liked it.
Yeah.
So they go through the labyrinth, and they find Ophelia bleeding out as the portal seemingly activates and takes her away. And again, this is probably the moment where we have the most cold scene in the real world, and then it illuminates into the warmth of the the fantasy world. Again, talking about this female story of coming of age, very traditionally. Guillermo made a point of saying, well, look, if I'm making a coming of age story and I'm telling this female story, I can't make her sexually mature, and that's, you know, in medieval times and traditional times, when you have your first blood, that's it. That's when you are now mature, and her dress is entirely coated in like reds and stuff. You know, so it's that semblance of you are now a grown up. So she walks into this fantasy world, and upon is the king. Carmen is there again as her mother, and there's a third seat awaiting for her, and she takes that as she passes away from the real world. Now, there is 2 questions I want to ask you both before we go into final thoughts about this movie. One is technical, and one is just general. What do you make of this? So the technical one is, I want to know... So I watched the Blu-ray version, and I thought it was gorgeous. All the colors continually popped. What I want to know is the scene where Mercedes is running away from Vidal's men. Did anyone notice, because I don't know if this is a Blu-ray issue or an actual intended part of the product, did anyone notice the sort of greens and reds just sort of pop a little bit while movement was happening, as if the colors were a bit off?
Not
in the one I watched. No,
may have been a Blu-ray issue then, just as they've sort of affected the footage a little bit, which is a shame. But there we are. Because I talked to Charlotte at the time, and she was like, maybe Del Toro wants these reds to show up because it's an intense scene. I was like, yeah, I can see that. But I was like, it looks like a digital error. It looks like the RGB is kind of messed up.
Yeah, I didn't see
so
it.
that's that. The other thing I wanted to ask you all is the fantasy world. Real? Dream? What do you reckon it is?
I personally think that it's something she's made up.
Yeah, same.
Everything that's going on.
And this is her going to heaven with her father and her mother, and it will be perfect.
Yeah, especially when I saw that the queen was a mum. I figured, and then it cuts back and she like draws her last breath or whatever. To me, and especially considering like literally like 2 minutes before, when the captain like shows up and he sees that she's talking to like no one.
Yeah,
I feel like by keeping that shot in or having that shot kind of tells us that maybe this is something she's making up because everything around is really stressful. Like her mum's like, you know, got a thing, she's moving and whatever, so she's like making this whole stuff to like pass the time almost. And like in that last moment, as she's dying, she envisions successfully going to this like perfect place or whatever, and then she dies, and you know, that's just what I think. I think that it was like a dream and like made up.
Any thoughts, Jacob?
Well, I was trying to piece in my head if ever there was a time where it was anyone other than just her experiencing all the like the fantastical elements.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, that Mandrake crew. Yeah, that was. But then no, it wasn't. Yeah, maybe it was. She got better, but
that's it.
Could have just been a coincidence. And yes, she got ill.
There is one time where one character sort of acknowledges something, and that is Mercedes sees the chalk door.
Oh yeah,
you can just joke
right at the end.
Yeah,
I know that, but she made the point of like don't trust a fawn. Then she sees the chalk door, and the rebellion then knows to go to the labyrinth.
Maybe it happened to her as a child, and she was like, no, not today.
I ask because I believe there is equal weight to both sides. Like we say, the Mandrake route did work. It could have been a coincidence, or it could have been magic. I am erring on the side of believing that it was a real fantasy world, and as is Del Toro. He says he purposely left it ambiguous, but in his head, it's real.
I like both.
And
yeah,
that's
why
why, because they have the fig tree open like blossom at the end, and you have that little line which is like, they say the princess returned to the fantasy world, but she leaves things behind in the human world for those who know where to look.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True.
So it could kind of be like those Beetlejuice rules of like, if you don't believe in it, you're not going to see it.
Mm.
But if you do believe in it, there it is. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So that was Pan's Labyrinth. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through the one by one and give it any final thoughts we have on the movie, and we're each going to give it a score out of 10, and then I'm going to use Matt to give it an overall score out of 100 and see where it ranks on a list of the best to worst movies of all time. Amelia, kick us off.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this film. I think the practical effects and the visual effects, everything they're stunning, honestly. So he's got such an interesting style, and that's what I love about his films. Like, I genuinely love his style. And yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I enjoyed this film, and I'm going to give it an 8.
8. Jacob.
I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was quite short and simple. Not a lot to it. I think if it had a bigger budget, it would have been like not just a good story, but like a really, really like phenomenal movie. And I don't want to keep giving things 8s. So this one for me, it was okay. I thought, as I say, it was good. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like, I wouldn't think I'd choose to watch it if I didn't already know about it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give it a 7.
7. Joe.
See, I'm kind of thinking of this film because I know a lot of people who really like this film, who've told me that it's amazing. And it wasn't what I expected it to be. I expected it to be, like we said before, where she gets lost in Labyrinth and that creature's more of a presence, whatever. It's because it's good. He obviously knew what he wanted the film to be, and he was able to do it perfectly. For me, and maybe based on what I've been told, I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I was going to. But then again, it's still a good movie. So I'm probably going to give it a 6 because it's a good movie.
6.
But like, I'm like, I wouldn't jump to watch it again straight away.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
understandable.
Yeah.
Fair. So, I think I would. I really, really like this movie. I do still have that kind of thing of like not quite being what I expected it to be, but what it was so lovingly crafted. Lots of people really like this movie. It did win a crap ton of awards. I keep referencing reviewer Roger A. Bear, who said that basically he missed this film in 2006 because he was having surgery. So he was doing his like best of 2006 list late in 2007, and he basically put it at number 1, and he said, look, there's a lot of films I still have to watch in 2006, but I don't think any of them are going to be better than this, which is pretty remarkable praise when you see something you just instantly know, right, that's going to be it, that's going to be the best movie that's going to come out this year. I do really like his construction of fantasy worlds, and I like exploring them, and I like going to them. It's deeply personal to him. It's fascinating listening to him talk about influences. One of the things that I was meaning to bring up in the middle is obviously the faun helping this little girl experience Fantasyland. It's obviously Narnia, Mr. Tumnus. That's the first thing that sort of springs to my mind.
Shit, how did I make reference to that? Fucking idiot.
Now, interestingly enough, he actually was approached to direct Chronicles of Narnia, but he toned it down to work on this movie. But he says, essentially, Mr. Tumnus was not what I was thinking of at all. What he was thinking of is when he was very, very young, he would experience this either lucid dream or sleep paralysis where he'd go to bed at 8 o'clock every night as part of a routine, and at quarter to midnight, without fail, a faun would show up in his room and torment him.
Oh.
And it was as real as you or I. He does credit as being part of a dream, but it really, really affected him. Similarly, when he was very, very young, he tells stories of hands coming out of the floor to get him. So he'd try and like leave his crib, and there'd be these hands coming out of the floor, and he'd wet the bed, and because he couldn't go to the loo in the middle of the night. And apparently, his mum, gave him a real good talking to. And one night he said to the hands, look, if you let me go to the toilet, I'll be your friend forever. And they never came for him again. And he was able to pee in peace. He's a really fascinating man. And I love listening to his stories. And when those stories become films, it's really cool. So I'm going to give it a 9, which gives us an overall score of 75 out of 100, placing it as the 10th greatest movie of all
Not bad,
time.
not bad.
Okay.
Not bad at all. Which brings us to the most important part of the show, and that's finding out what we're going to be watching next week. Amelia, let us know.
Hello. So I love this studio, I guess we'll call it, and I had no clue which one to pick because I love most of them, but I've picked this one because I feel like it's the most intense. I feel like you guys are going to enjoy it a bit more if you've not seen it, and they're all on Netflix now.
I knew this was coming.
Oh,
We're going to be
yeah.
watching a Ghibli movie, and the one I want us to watch, because like I said, this one is a bit more mature out of all of them. I would have got us to watch Totoro, but I love Totoro, but it's a slow movie, and as much as I love it, I'm not sure most of us will enjoy it as much as I do. We're going to be watching, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Princess Mononoke.
Nice.
And
Very
I don't know what it
excited.
is.
good.
That's-
Have you seen the wolf girl? She's got she's got red arrows on her paint and a wolf hat sort of thing. Seen that?
Sounds familiar. But
You might recognise it when you see it, but
I'm gonna look.
there's
So it's on Netflix.
yeah, they're all
Yes.
on Netflix. Are they the Japanese ones or English dub?
I've not checked
No,
that yet.
I
I
it
assume
should
both.
be on. But basically, Disney bought the rights to the films to distribute them in America, and they did English dubs, so that you can either have the English dub or you can watch it in Japanese with subtitle. I don't mind. I've watched
Kind of
both, so-
ironic because Ghibli movies are basically just Japanese Disney movies. That's what they feel like to me.
Yeah, that's what I always think. So you can choose whichever. I don't know if there's any differences yet. We're going to find out. But
Hey!
Very good.
so yes,
Okay,
hopefully it'll
amazing.
introduce you to Ghibli.
So that was Pan's Labyrinth. Let us know what you thought of the film and this video in the comments down below. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Once again, you can find us on social media by searching for The Real Outtakes. If you've listened to this via the audio version, check us out on YouTube. Just search for the Outtakes Movie Podcast on YouTube. And if you were watching the video version and you fancy having us on the go, check us out on our podcast apps by again searching for the Outtakes Movie Podcast. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.